Ooh, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am flying solo from the studio now for our final game of the day: Team Hug versus Team eHug versus Team Liquid. I am going to be joined by Hippie. Chris, give us a sound check here. You coming in loud and clear? Oh, wait. All right, try again.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Oh,
Good.
yeah. So, give me just a few more. Tell us what's up, man. How you doing?
I'm good, man. It's been forever since I casted with you. It's just like old times.
Yeah,
Been
it certainly
doing
is.
doing work on other sides, but at this point, always happy to join you, my friend. And should be a good match we got here today. I do love watching eHug, the nice new faces in the North American scene, and Liquid. They've been, talk about what you want with Bloggate and everything. They've been playing pretty well since Fluff took over the drafting role. And it's only been a few games, but they did take Cloud9 2-0 in MLG which is
Yeah,
that's an impressive feat, man.
it is. I missed it, unfortunately, but kind of wish that I
Been
saw
casting
it now.
everything else.
Yeah, they've been doing all right. In Starladder, since Fluff took over, I believe they've gone 1-1. They did take a spill yesterday, but we'll see how they do. Team eHug, both sides with a stand-in here, and we can actually just hop into the draft. I'm still playing with audio levels, and I think you're pretty good. We'll keep tabs on chat. I'm sure they'll be more than eager to keep us on our toes with audio issues. But yeah, glad we can cast together, man. It really has been a while. Two stand-ins though. Koikva not here for Liquid. It is rather late in the EU where he is, so they have King as their stand-in, and eHug actually have a stand-in as well. Justin will be here in the stead of Ryu Borez once again.
Yeah, I believe that is snaking actually over there on
Snaking
Liquid's end.
is Justin or King?
Is
King is
King.
snaking. Okay, that would
So,
make sense.
recognizable face. And Justin, of course, yeah, he stood in for eHug a couple of times.
Yeah, apparently Ryu Borez right now is on some sort of a vacation or a holiday, or he has a sick family member. There's something IRL that he's dealing with, and I read about it, and now it's eluding me exactly what it is. So Justin has been their kind of semi-permanent stand-in while Ryu Borez is tending to whatever it is he needs tending. So we'll see how they fare here. Chris, I want to ask you what you think about Lycan right now, because he has not been banned out here in this first phase, and he has been the hot topic recently. What's your take on the lycanthrope?
I've seen him be very, very strong. My opinion is that if you have to go against a lycanthrope, he's very, very frustrating to deal with. The Howl is really strong, especially if you give up a couple other summoning heroes, especially Treant and Invoker come to mind immediately. Not Treant, Fury and an Invoker come to mind immediately for me.
Hmm.
But there was an excellent, excellent game played earlier today in the MLG that was Power Rangers against Fnatic, where Power Rangers held out incredibly well against a Lycan draft that Fnatic had picked up, and they basically picked some really strong team fight and a Naga Siren illusion carry to get a fast radiance and hold off the lanes. So I think if you draft against the Lycan well enough, you'll be okay, but he's definitely a tough guy to deal with. He might be a little too much on the strong end, but I don't think he's like really godlike always ban him strong.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings. He has been, well, there you go. First pick for
Yeah.
Team Liquid. So glad I brought it up. They have been running him quite a bit. Yesterday, I believe they played against CNB in Starladder, and it was, actually, let me double check because I'm already spacing. No, it was against Revenge. I'm sorry. So they did take a spill yesterday against Revenge, and to their credit, Revenge have been playing very, very well. A team that not a lot of people know too well, but their drafter, mid-player Smash, he has been on point, and they did do a TC Lycan and a little bit of solo, he was in like a safe lane, tri-lane kind of a role, and it was okay. A little bit lackluster. They weren't able to transition it into much,
You really
but
have to abuse the power of the Howl a lot
yeah,
of times. You need good early control that can take advantage of it, because obviously 20 extra physical damage on every swing from all of your heroes, especially in a tri lane, is a lot of easy kills you can set up. And I mentioned, you want another hero that has some kind of summoning power so that you can take advantage of the extra minion damage. I mean, especially the Fury, and like I mentioned, the Visage is particularly dangerous with a Lycan on the board.
yeah. And Visage is still available, which is interesting as well. Smart choice from eHug to ban out the Rasta Shadow Shaman. Team Liquid have been running him quite a bit. But Lycan and Nyx Assassin, two pretty straightforward heroes to get things kicked off. We've been seeing a lot of the Ancient Apparition Lycan duo as well. And I say duo, but really in a tri-lane is where that shines. The Howl mixed with Chilling Touch. It's dirty, man. That early right click is disgusting. Even at level 2, you can pick up easy, easy kills.
Plus 70 damage at level 1. What could be wrong with that? I mean, come on. Come on.
Yeah.
How could anyone die to that? You only have 3 heroes swinging for, 120 damage apiece. That's like what, 2 swings
Yeah.
to kill you completely?
It's insane. It's really ridiculous.
It's pretty strong. I really like it.
Yeah. So eHug though, they have been struggling, and I don't know what it is that they need to get their ducks in a row, as they say. Jiggle Billy has been performing reasonably well as their newest addition, but they're in that stage where they have something to prove, and well, they still have just not been looking too good in this star ladder. Actually, let me take a look. What are their standings right now? Are they actually? They are 1-2 at the moment, so they aren't at the bottom of the pack, but they certainly aren't in great shape. They will go ahead and grab Weaver as their second pick, and there's some pretty clear synergy between Weaver and Ancient Apparition. The Chilling Touch does work with Geminate Attack, so a nice little bit of synergy there, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah, it can be very strong if you can get on top of someone. And as far as eHug and their standings, I mean, they're a pretty fresh team. They're not, completely fresh players. Obviously, they'd shown their stuff a little bit qualifying for MLG Columbus. That's where they kind of got their start, got their name going. But I think them kind of like a younger version of Power Rangers, who I mentioned earlier. You and I, when we were casting Starladder a couple seasons ago, Power Rangers, they were a good team, and on a good day, they could upset some really strong teams. But they certainly weren't top of the pack. And nowadays, Power Rangers are just tearing through people, man. They're a really talented team over in
Yep.
the Europe and the CIS region. So I could see eHug a couple seasons down the line being very, very strong. I just think they need to keep playing, keep practicing. They have the potential, man.
Yeah, I think so. I want to think so at least. The last few games I've casted have been lackluster, but yeah, fingers crossed. I like the idea of another North American powerhouse. Oh boy. So we'll see what they want to pick here. Both teams taking their time with their second set of bans. Tinker and Disruptor taken out of the pool by eHug. We have seen Bulba running his Tinker quite a bit recently. We got to see it yesterday, actually. So not a bad ban from eHug. Nobody really likes dealing with a decent Tinker player. And Liquid will ban out the Abaddon as well as Doombringer. Yeah, two pretty straightforward heroes. The Abaddon's a little bit interesting, but he does pair nicely with that Weaver and also an Ancient Apparition if they were interested in doing some kind of a tri-lane.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely help it aggressive. I haven't seen Abaddon Weaver for a long time. I've been seeing the Treant Weaver a lot more often, but maybe that's just because I've been casting Rock's Kiss a whole lot, and
Yeah,
Godlife loves his Treant.
that will definitely sway your
It'll skew
appearance
it a little bit.
of Triet. Yeah, I have seen the only Triet I've seen in this season of Starladder has been with Rock's Kiss. So that's
Power Rangers have
yeah,
been drafting it too. They do not shy away from the tree, but maybe that
yeah.
was just because they didn't want Rock's Kiss to have it. I don't know, man.
Yeah, there's some truth to that. We've seen Power Rangers a little bit, but they have been like the way Starladder schedules. They try to clump teams, and we haven't seen Power Rangers in at least the past 5 days of Starladder or so. But you're right. PR, they are a team to look out for. And I'll second the notion on that front, man. They are an interesting team. They still have consistency issues, but they've got the skills, and when they're on point, man, they are scary.
Yeah.
So Storm,
I like the Storm Spirit.
yeah,
I like the Storm Spirit. I think for one thing, it's something that's very strong against the Weaver, so you don't want to give it up. It is particularly strong against the Lycan early because you can actually chase him down, which most other heroes can't. It's good against the Rubik because stealing Storm spells is kind of crappy because you don't get overload and you just don't have the mana pool to support it. And you don't give Bulba a Storm Spirit. If Bulba doesn't get his Tinker, I would actually gamble that a Storm Spirit would have been a pretty likely pickup right there because Bulba can play a beast of a Storm Spirit when he puts his mind to it.
yeah, definitely true. I do like the Rubik here in the sense that he works pretty well against Weaver. Now that they have Nyx and Rubik, they at least have some sort of crowd control abilities to try and deal with the elusive Storm and Weaver, two heroes that tend to shine against teams that don't have a lot of lockdown. Dragon Knight, the obvious Bulba hero here, will add another stun to the mix. So I like the way Liquid are kind of moving their draft in a way to deal with these eHug heroes. I'm not really sure how I feel about Weaver right now. I don't know if I would really label him a hero that fits in with the like first or second pick, as we see eHug here. He's really fallen off in popularity, and he can still be scary, but he's not quite what he used to be a few patches ago.
No, he's certainly not the terror that he was at one point, and especially not when you had a lot more space to farm up. The people I saw, oh gosh, I can't remember. It was recent. It was earlier today, in fact. I saw a Weaver who went, which is the very early Medallion build. And it's a build that we haven't seen for ages. We usually see Weavers go for a much more defensive build, and quite frankly, in this game, I think he has to. I think he'll have to go BKB first against this lineup. But if you
Yeah.
can get some minus armor on your team and you can get a quick medallion on Weaver, you can wreck people with that damage output early. You don't need a lot of bonus damage for Geminate attack plus Swarm plus Medallion to tear people apart.
Hmm.
So I think he can be played aggressively and can fit into this meta. He just doesn't fit quite as well as one of the more popular carries we see right now, like a Luna, who's just like, bam, you have a BKB, you're fighting, you're online.
Yeah. I do like the choice to fourth pick Bane for Team eHug, a hero that works pretty well against Lycan, just kind of in general. Fiend's Grip and Nightmare, both very useful abilities, especially when he's in Shapeshift to try and stop him from just running around going ham on your team. Though Bane will certainly have his work cut out for him here against Rubik. Rather brave picking Bane into Rubik because Fiend's Grip is one of the easiest spells to steal, unless, of course, he's actually using it on the Rubik himself.
Yeah, it is a bold strategy right there. I do think they need the lockdown. As you mentioned, Bane against Lycan is just incredibly strong between both Enfeeble and the Grip. But as you mentioned, there's so many good ways to take care of that. Just the there's never going to be an instance where there's not somebody in some range to cancel that grip unless you're doing it against a single hero. So
Right.
either you need to give that Bane farm priority, which you're not going to do, or you need to just be satisfied with the idea that you're not going to channel a good Fiend's Grip for most of the game.
Yeah. And I do like these final bans from both teams. Mirana, it's kind of an obvious choice. You don't want to hand it over to that classic Mirana Bane combo. And Visage, he would have been the perfect last pick for Liquid. Honestly, they need another support here. Visage is Kale tier of supports, and well, frankly, it's a little bit surprising to see him make it this far in the draft without getting banned out. Team Liquid will go ahead and grab themselves another stunner, though, and of course, that is the Vengeful Spirit.
Yeah, I mean, they have so many great ways of dealing with that Bane, of dealing with the Storm Spirit, of dealing with the Weaver. That's four great lockdown heroes, or four heroes who are at the very least able to shut someone down for a second. And then on top of that, Lycan, say what you want. Sure, he's probably best in an early pushing strategy. He's certainly, that's one of his most useful things with the Howl, with the minions. But there's not really many more fearsome single target right click DPSers. And if that's all you need on your carry is for him to just melt whoever he's focusing on, you can keep him locked down. You don't need team fight help. There aren't a lot of options that are going to kill someone faster than a shapeshifted Lycan.
Yeah, that's certainly a good point. eHug will grab themselves Slark for their final hero. It will be a Jigglebilly Weaver and Cakes on the Slark. So it looks like an off-lane Slark here. Justin will be in the mid lane on the Storm Spirit, and a pretty straightforward tri-lane with Weaver, Ancient Apparition, and the Bane. I imagine Bane will probably move around a little bit depending on how Team Liquid want to set up their lanes, though should be fairly obvious as well. I think it'll be a Nyx in the off lane, and we'll just see that kind of classic safe lane, tri-lane with the Lycan,
Prepare for battle.
Rubik, and Vengeful Spirit.
What immediately kind of strikes me as a contrast about these drafts is that Liquid support pair, the Venge and the Rubik, are going to be so much more effective with early ganks than eHug will ever try to manage to be. I mean, you
Yeah.
have an AA and a Bane. Sure, so you've got the sleep, you can set someone up, but you just don't have a lot of damage output unless you get a really out of position hero to catch with the chilling touch. And with any sort of, solid play, if you're, watching the map, making sure you're back up to close to your tower whenever those heroes aren't in lane, you shouldn't be getting caught by that too easily. So it kind of worries me, although it does look like they want to go aggressive, so they won't be trying a lot of rotations. They're going to be trying to shut down this Lycan as hard as possible, and I can respect that.
Yeah, I think that's generally the right idea. Lycan's a hero that you really don't want to give a lot of space to, and I still contend that one of the best tools to deal with Lycan is just making sure that you can scout out the Roche Pit. And however you do that, whether it's a Veno with Plague Wards, whether it's a Clockwork with Rocket Flares, something to stop him from just getting a completely uncontested free Roche, which is something a lot of teams don't really do too frequently. And letting him get free farm and then letting him get a free Roche, that's usually a recipe for having a bad time. At least if you're up against the Lycan, that is. We will see some wards coming down here. We see a dire ward right on the backside of this bush. So that will give some nice intel into the jungle. And there's a Radiant ward here on the high ground as well, right above that bottom rune spawn. Way2 will go ahead and grab the first rune. It is an illusion at the bottom position as he heads down to lane. We see some pings coming out there. Certainly suspicious that there's a ward down. And Way2 will go ahead and counter it, just barely getting it with that sentry. But Small victory for Liquid out of the gate.
It's interesting to me that they decided to go for the magic bush with that ward. It's such a, such a standard and kind of obvious ward spot. Even if they
Yeah.
hadn't gotten the counter at that initial that initial sentry, they would have immediately known because of the. Actually, no, because it looks like they've blocked their own hard camps. They wouldn't have been able to immediately tell it was magic bush. All right, no, scratch
Yeah.
that.
Scratch that. We'll strike it from the record. We'll introduce our roster too. We've got Team Liquid on our Radiant side, and they will be running a tri-lane down bottom. Liquid TC on the position 1 Lycan. Fluff and Stuff. The new drafter will be on Rubik down here in the bottom lane, and they'll also be joined by Way2 on the Vengeful Spirit. In the mid, no surprise to see Bulba playing on his Dragon Knight, and in the off lane, their stand-in here in the place of Koikpa will be Snake King on the Nyx Assassin.
And I mean, as far as these lanes are going to shape up, I don't like I don't really like the potential of the defensive tri-lane from Liquid. I mean, sure, you have some good stuns to log it down, but I'm wondering how they're going to, unless eHug overplays, I don't think, oh, wait, never mind. I'm a sheep. No, he's not quite going to get caught right there. But I feel like even if they, as long as eHug doesn't overplay, the damage output just from the Chilling Touch, the defensive or offensive sleep that you're going to get in from Pandago is really going to neuter the kind of killing potential of this Liquid tri-lane. I could be completely wrong. These heroes are kind of squishy. They could get picked off if they get caught out like this.
Yeah, we'll see initiation here. Magic Missile comes out onto Ancient Apparition. There's the Howl. The Wolves doing a lot of damage. Easy first blood for Liquid. Fluff will grab the kill. Jigglebilly trying to finish off the Rubik. Fluff will use a salve as he moves into the fog. Jigglebilly might still be able to secure this kill. Shikuchi forward. He will make it a 1-for-1, so at least there's a recovery for eHug, but the damage has been done, and the first blood has come out in favor of Liquid.
Yeah, obviously you got it on a slightly better hero for eHug, but getting that extra first blood gold is a pretty big deal. And of course, slowing down that Ancient Apparition, making sure he's not going to have that cold feet. I mean, it's not the #1 thing in this lane. That's another thing that's a little odd about this lane, is that the Bane doesn't set up very nicely for the AA cold feet, since the damage from the cold feet will just remove the sleep. So they'll be able to get out of it no matter what. But at the same time, it forces people to kind of move out of attack range if they're coming in, or move in an odd direction that they didn't really want to go in. So at least it's a bit of a zoning tool.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit imperfect. But still, I mean, you saw the potential. Just with the Chilling Touch, they were able to get a return kill. If there's ever not kind of a good skill rotation coming out of Liquid, I think eHug will do just fine in this lane.
Yeah. And it seems to be kind of a break even so far. Lycan 9-1, and the Weaver is 11-3. So pretty even across the board there. Let's take a look at the mid lane and see how everyone's doing. Bulba actually taking a lot of damage, as he does have a double damage rune on. He is 15-2 against the 19-3 Storm Spirit. Fairly standard. You expect Storm to have a little bit of an edge early on. And DK is bottle crowing. And actually up top, Snake King in some trouble. Cakes does connect with a pounce. And, well, they will both just walk away. A little bit weaker, but both survive. So a little bit of back and forth in both lanes. And in the top, it's a pretty even spread as well. Slark with 15 last hits. Nyx with 12. It's kind of all about this tri-lane. This will be the big decider where most of the heroes are right now. We are off to an even start as we approach the 4-minute mark. Way2 coming around the tree line here, perhaps looking for an opening. And they already have a sentry down as well. I like this from Liquid. They came prepared, and they are ready to jump on Jigglebilly if he steps too far forward.
Yeah, as well they should be. I think one of the big things we have to think about when we talk about this Tri-v-Tri, which is obviously, as you mentioned, where a lot of the action is going to be taking place, is that since these Liquid supports are kind of dedicated down here, because if you leave, obviously, TC is just going to die as soon as the supports are out of lane. But so they can't rotate to gank the Storm, and since he is getting a little bit better with Bulba, he's going to have his 6 before Bulba does, which means the Bulba's not going to be able to get that just ever so slightly faster 6, get the quick stun on the Storm and pick him up just before he catches that 6. Although, oddly, Bulba's leading by 16 experience, so I might have to eat my words right there, even though the Storm has more denies.
Yeah.
Maybe he's been zoned out a little bit.
Zoned out a little bit, and also Storm has just spent a little bit more time walking around. Bulba grabbed that double damage, but Storm, he's left the lane a time or two to try and move around, and I think they're both utilizing that courier. So still very even, though. They're going to hit 6 at just about the same time. Storm will clean up this wave, and he'll still be 1 creep short. Bulba 1 creep short as well. So they are just about on point with one another. Pandago has rotated towards the mid, though. 2 points in the Brain Snap, 1 in the Nightmare, so no one feeble to harass back Bulba. But still on point, ready to try and jump in and find an initiation if the opportunity presents itself, though I don't think it will. Pandago will just rotate back down towards the bottom.
Yeah, Way2 rotated out as well. I'm not sure. That ward may have just caught him rotating through right here. so that may be why they were comfortable sending Pandago back a little bit. Jiggle Billy CSing just fine against 2, as long as they don't have that double stun. They can't really bring him down, they don't have the damage. So he's just perfectly happy to have this happen to him, and he's getting a little bit more experience out of it as well.
Yeah, that Quelling Blade making his life a little bit easier against that of the Weaver, but now he could be in some trouble. Nightmare comes out, and they'll initiate straight away. That Chilling Touch doing a lot of damage. TC, one hit from death, will survive. Fluff, using that telekinesis, he's trying to fog as well, but he is in big trouble. Jiggle Billy actually doesn't take the right path. Fluff will pour it out, and he'll survive. A bit of a misplay from Jiggle right there. But while that's happening, of course, there was a kill in the mid lane, and they finished off the Storm Spirit as Venge rotated over.
There we go. I was saying that probably Storm wouldn't get taken advantage of when Bulba hit level 6, but how wrong I was. Probably just a quick Dragon Tail into way too stun right there. I guess he just didn't count on the Vengeful Spirit hanging out that long to get the gank, but when you're a Storm Spirit, you have to figure they're going to be putting a lot of pressure on you. You're one of the most snowball-reliant heroes in the game. You need to kind of get your early items up. It's very difficult to play from behind on that hero, as strong as he can be if you get ahead. So the fact that they rotated in there shouldn't have really been surprising, and maybe should have been a little bit more careful, although it is a little bit hard to deal with that first Dragon Tail of level 6. You're just never quite expecting it.
Yeah, and now it looks like they want to try and initiate onto TC once again, but another nice telekinesis from the Rubik will harbor their efforts there, and Lycan will just go back to farming. Between the Quelling Blade and the Wolves, Jiggle Billy just can't keep up in CS, and TC maintaining a small lead, about 8 creeps right now, but still not too shabby to get things started here. Dragon Knight has now taken over as the leading farmer. Another double damage rune for Bulba, which he picked up at the 6-minute mark. And Liquid will grab a small lead to get things started here. About 500 gold, 1,000 experience. Storm did go for Power Treads first, and we'll see what he wants to go for here. Obviously, Orchid first is ideal, but this might be a game where Justin is forced into a BKB first, because Liquid just have plenty of stuns at their disposal.
Nice try.
Yeah, I feel like if he really feels like Liquid are rotating kind of 2-man groups, which they appear to be, they don't appear to be leaving people alone that often. Oh, it looks like Bulba wants to go in.
Yeah, with the double damage rune on, he'll throw the Dragon Tail, but no way he can pick up that kill on Storm. Just wants to zone him out so he can use that Corrosive Breath on the tower, and doing a good bit of damage. Also has the Siege Creep as well. I don't think he'll be able to do it on this rotation, but, well, maybe. Plenty of time left on that Elder Dragon form. So before long here, Storm will lose his Tier 1 tower. Uh-oh, rotation up top. Fluff will pour it in. He wants to help find his kill onto Cakes. Cakes maybe getting a bit too aggressive here. Thinking about going for Snake King, but Rubik will reveal himself. And that will be the end of the exchange. TC down bottom. Now they know that one of the supports is rotated. It is the 3v2. They will use the Nightmare. Nice teamwork there. Way 2 will go ahead and bring it back. And look at that. Using the Wolves to break the Nightmare. Nice heads-up play from TC. And again, that will harbor the potential kill for eHug.
Yeah, it's just the lack of lockdown in this lane is really costing them a lot. Looks like Way 2 is going to try to TP out, but no.
Now Venge
He's gonna
is
die.
in big trouble. Yeah, no way he'll survive this one. We'll throw a stun out on I'm a Sheep, but there you go. Jiggle Billy will get one on the board. That'll tie it up 2-2. But only a kill on the Venge. Not the end of the world. Lycan is now rotated into the jungle to try and finish up that Vlad. And it looks like the rest of Liquid will rotate into the mid lane and try and finish off this Tier 1 tower. Glyph comes out for eHug, but it is slated to fall.
I mean, not only they get in that tower very, very easily, but Storm Spirit, there's just no way for him to be anywhere near that lane when there's a triple stun available. It's so dangerous for him to be, I mean, because those are reasonably ranged stuns, too. You've got the level 2 telekinesis, so the range is almost 600. You've got the Dragon Tail stun when he's in the dragon form is quite exceptional. And oh, there's the stun on Justin.
Easy kill coming out on the Storm, or is it? They'll finally be able to finish him off as Pandago tries to delay the inevitable. Now Pandago's in trouble. It'll be a 2-0 after the Tier 1 tower falls. Now Liquid picking up some momentum.
Yeah, and as much as eHug is getting now some good golden XP out of this bottom lane on Jiggle Billy, they're not, because TC is able to just jungle, he's perfectly fine with his supports rotating around. I mentioned earlier that I thought that the rotating power of Liquid is just hugely better than that of eHug, and they're open to do that now. Because TC has levels, because he has items where he can jungle stably, he's totally cool just leaving that lane for Jiggle Billy while his supports just go around and kill everybody. And it's going to be really, really dangerous for a lot of these eHug heroes who are very, very reliant on mobility, on escapes, against this crazy chain stun power that Liquid has. I mean, say what you want about Slark. I don't like dealing with the hero because he has 4 seconds of piss off, I do what I want. But if they get that first stun, they can just stun lock him full dead. Same with the Storm.
Yeah.
Same with the Weaver if they decide to rotate on him. There's so much potential
Radiant's
for
bottom
quick deaths
tower
here. You're going to
is
need to
under
see some
attack.
very, very careful warding coming out from eHug. And at the moment, they're only really watching bottom with this new set of wards they dropped. So
Yeah.
Slark is always in danger, and Storm is always in danger because the supports aren't rotating out of bottom anymore. They're rotating on the other parts of the map that are dark.
Yeah. Smart drafting from Liquid, because with Lycan as their position 1 and also their first pick, of course, one of the things that he lacks is he has no disables, and they drafted around that. Every single other hero has a stun that's pretty easy to land. 3 of them are just sure, not even skill shots, and Nyx with his skill shot, but as long as he's not opening, it should be pretty easy to connect with those impales. Lycan will go ahead and finish up his Medallion of Courage now, already has the Vlads, and he is still farming ahead of that Weaver by just about 400 gold on the net worth chart. So things are looking up for Liquid, about a 3,000 gold and experience lead here at the 11-minute mark. Even though it is only 4-2 in hero kills, they are just finding better farm about the map. Down bottom, they will start to pressure this tier 1 tower a little bit. Jiggle Billy did go Power Treads, Ring of Aquila, and Magic Wand to open things up. No Hand of Midas coming out, but still pretty solid. Snake King could be in some trouble here. There is a Dire Sentry down right next to him. So, of course, they are well aware. Still, his presence will zone them out, and this will make for an easy tier 1 tower push in the bottom.
Dire's bottom tower has fallen.
Yes, what are you going to do about that when you've got Dragon Knight with the Corrosive Breath, when you've got the Nyx who's able to just kind of punish anyone who tries to defend, and when you've got the power of TC with the Wolves and the Howl? You know all your tier 1s are going to drop very, very early, and it looks like he might want to go in on I'm a Sheep.
I'm a Sheep. He'll get destroyed as the Impale starts things off. Breathe Fire for easy follow-up. A long port coming in. It is Cakes on the Slark. But eHug, I don't think they'll be able to find a recovery kill. And Liquid will read that and say, all right, you guys committed to saving this tier 2. We'll just rotate up top and say goodbye to that tier 1. We know your ports are on cooldown. Y'all are out of position to try and defend this tower. And even if they don't finish it off, they will do a considerable amount of damage. Or maybe I'll be eating my words here as a double damage rune. Spawns in the top position. Boba will grab it. And that's the end of his Elder Dragon form for now.
Yeah, another 50 seconds. I mean, with the DD rune, with the Breathe Fire, with all these supports up here, this tower should still be a very, very easy takedown unless eHug really commits to saving it. Although they are rotating 4. They're going to leave Jiggle Billy down bottom, obviously, but all of their supports and the rest of their cores are moving up here. Maybe if Justin can get a good initiation. Oh, but King spots him out. Snaking.
Wow, and he reveals the smoke
plays.
as well. Chilling Touch used. Fluff, he gets dropped to start things off. And yeah, I'll eat my words about that top tier 1 tower. eHug will make a 4-man rotation. And they pick up a kill, and of course that tower will be safe and sound. Snake King now not going for Blink first. Will be working towards a 4-staff. Has the first 2 core pieces, just waiting for the recipe. And what is Bulba going to grab? Is there something on the courier for him? It will be a Shadow Blade. Shadow Amulet up already, and pretty close to that second piece.
I actually really like that in this particular game. Even though there's some pretty decent lockdown you'd like to be able to get yourself out of, there's a Bane on the other team, so the BKB won't save you completely. And on top of that, you can rotate with the Nyx. Now they need to invest so much more into sentry wards. You already have these underfarmed supports who have to constantly keep the entire map sentry to make sure they don't end up more and more underfarmed from Nyx ganks. And then also just being able to get in, set things up for the Venge, set things up for the Rubik. There's so many wonderful things you can do with that if you're playing from ahead. And even if...
Wow, Bulba's in trouble. He will finish off the tier 2 tower mid, create some space for the tier 2 down bottom, but he'll stand his ground. Rubik falls. Or pardon me, Storm Spirit falls to the Wrath of Rubik. The double damage on Bulba doing some serious work. Cake comes in. He finishes off the Dragon Knight. But a worthwhile exchange. A 1-for-1. Both mid-heroes fall. But 2 tier 2 towers go down in favor of Liquid. Not the exchange that eHug was looking for.
Cakes has to know he's in vision right now. He's not getting his move speed boost, so since he knows there's not a ward there, he also knows Snaking was rotating behind him. But that Vendetta is just going to end. Snaking just going to farm up a little bit in the mid. His 4-staff is done. That's a pretty quick Force Arcane for the Batrider. Or excuse, wow, Batrider for the Nyx Assassin. Why did I go there? I don't even know.
Yeah. Well, Slark, his farm has been pretty good. He went Phase Boots, Orb of Venom, and now a Yasha. Not the most standard of builds on Slark, but I guess not too bad. I imagine he's just going to pick up a Sanjin Yasha. Manta on Slark is not something we see very often.
I mean, the Sanjin Yasha gives him that nice tankiness that he kind of wants to get, and if you feel like you need to be fighting in more protracted engagements a little bit earlier, you need to be able to live through the chain stun, then yeah, Sanjin Yasha can be very, very helpful. Obviously, it makes it so your Dark Pact is a little less impactful when you're trying to get yourself out of those stuns. You're not costing yourself quite as large a percentage of your hit point pool. So if it's just a slightly more defensive build than something like a Shadow Blade, where of course you'd just be kind of going all in on ganking, and you know you're playing defensive here.
Up top, Justin hops forward onto Fluff, but Wei2's there with a magic missile, and Storm will get dropped to start off this fight. Now Snake King, he'll get put inside of the Nightmare. Plenty of support nearby. Pandego will be the second to fall. Cakes, there's that piss off you were talking about. It will be enough to grab a kill on Rubik as Jiggle Billy joins the battle as well, but now Cakes is in big trouble. He gets cleaned up. Jiggle Billy will stand his ground for now, but that'll cost him just way too many stuns coming out for Liquid. Way too early for BKBs to be on the field, and, well, eHug just get completely cleaned up. They'll lose their tier 1 tower up top as well.
Ooh, I don't like this Weaver's decision to go for a Lincoln's. He's going for an ultimate orb. I really think he needed to go for BKB and not Lincoln's. There's
Agreed.
just too many individual stuns on this team.
Yeah.
And there's perfectly good ways to burn it as well. You know, you can get a quick mana burn off on him if Nyx really needs to get you with a targeted stun.
Fade, Bolt.
Ooh.
Yeah, there are a couple of abilities here, and also Storm, he won't go BKB first either. It looks like he's got both Robe of the Magi in the inventory, which is usually a pretty good signal that you're going for an Orchid first, which, again, a good item on Storm, and if you can get that Orchid up very quickly, like an Orchid before 20 minutes with Power Treads and Bottle, isn't too bad, and you can start moving around and making plays, but he's nowhere close to finishing this Orchid, and now he's so susceptible to these stuns. We saw how that fight started. Storm hopped in, he got initiation, took a magic missile to the face, and just got dropped before the electric vortex was even done. You need a BKB in a game like this.
Yeah, there's a sense, and I actually agree with it a lot of the time, that if you're forced to go BKB on a Storm Spirit, they've already done something to counter you. Even if you're farming really well, if your first item is BKB, you've been countered. But the problem is, if the counter is because of the draft, you can't just say, oh, I'm not going a BKB. I don't want to let them beat me out by making me go a BKB. You've got no hit points. You know Liquid is rotating as 4 most of the time, with TC just farming or split pushing. So
TC
unless you're going specifically...
I don't know when that happened.
I mean, well, I mean, anytime an entire team is distracted, it was during that last big team fight. He just snagged Roche for free. Lycan kills Roche so quickly because he can do it so early before a lot of those Roshan buffs take effect.
Yeah.
And especially
now,
with the early minus armor from the medallion, it's easy as pie.
Yeah.
You only need one tiny opening.
He's got a level 2 Necro book sitting in the bank at home also. So this is just, I mean, basically Liquid are winning a 4v5 right now. I mean, yeah, Lycan's helping out with the Howl if you want to break it down that way, but that fight up top, Lycan wasn't even there. He was just doing Roche the whole time. So that's always a bad sign. If Lycan can just do whatever he wants around the Roche pit, and the rest of your team can do a 4+1 and still come out ahead in the mid game, yeah, you're in good shape. So now we'll see a rotation from Liquid. It looks like they may try and push into the high ground already. I don't know how successful this will be, but, well, they can at least start chipping away at the tower. They have that luxury right now of the Aegis on the Lycan.
I think they're just trying to bait someone to go onto TC right here, because they have Snake King hiding behind the trees. They have Fluff hiding behind the trees. Yeah. Fluff has Shikuchi, so he's able to kind of get in and out quickly and unseen. So what they just want to force a rotation from eHug and then counter just like this.
Jiggle Billy, telekinesis into Impale. Can they drop him before the time lapse? They cannot. He'll go back up to full health, and now things might be a little more difficult for Liquid. TC on the run. It looks like he'll be able to make it out for now. Fluff with that Shikuchi, he'll be able to scoot away also. But Snake King may be in trouble. No, he's got Vendetta. Plenty of duration left on it. Jiggle Billy looking for kills. They might still be able to finish off TC, but no, they throw down a sentry. Jiggle Billy gets obliterated. Great heads-up play from Fluff, dropping the sentry just in the nick of time. Now Cakes hops in. He'll get destroyed as well. He did have the ultimate available, but he just died too quickly. Meanwhile, Bulba just split pushing, takes out a tier 2 tower all by his lonesome. Liquid are literally winning this game 4v5.
Well, just on top of that, they got them to commit so hard that Weaver chasing down TC. Fluff got into position. He knew he could move just as fast as the Weaver, just took another path so he wouldn't distract him. So they knew that TC had the Aegis, right? So even if he dies, it's annoying, but not that big a deal, and he just loses there as Pandego just gets absolutely butchered.
I think they'll be happy to trade that Bane for the Aegis that was probably going to expire before too long anyhow. Now this tier 3 taking heavy pressure. Glyph is available for eHug. They'll go ahead and burn it, but Slark and Bane are still both going to be down. This is not an easy defense. I think eHug are in trouble. This is going to end up being a quick game. This is a 20-minute Rax right here, Hippie.
I agree. I mean, there's no defensive items up on the Weaver, so he can't be useful because there's too many stuns. There's no defensive items finished on the Slark, even though he was trying to go for the Sanj and Yasha. Maybe he should have gone for the Sanj first. I don't know. It's an awkward kind of game to play a lot of these heroes into. As I mentioned earlier, they're reliant on mobility and kind of kiting and getting around in fights. When they're stun locked, they can't do that.
Oh, Cakes. I don't know what he was thinking. He just hopped in. He used the ultimate, but as soon as it expired, he was still in the danger zone, and he gets destroyed. Pandago, he'll get another swap, does use a defensive nightmare, but certainly won't be enough to keep him alive. Right now, Liquid just diving the tier 4s, and there you have it. GG, well played. 20 minutes. Liquid make quick work out of the North American eHug team.
Yeah, I mean, maybe eHug was just having an off day. They had a couple of questionable initiations, a couple questionable plays, but overall, they weren't playing, like, outright bad. Liquid was just really on their game. They got a lot of their initiations really well. They had really well-timed counter initiations that, in particular, I think that top fight right when TC was taking Roche was really kind of indicative of how the entire game went. There was an okay initiation from the Storm, immediately counter-initiated by the Magic Missile before he could do anything about it. And that was just bam, dead, and that set the tone for the entire fight.
Yeah, there's really not much more to say. That was a quick game, and Liquid just looking good. They did well in pretty much every lane, and I think we sort of hit the nail on the head a little bit about the BKBs, but part of the issue is eHug, I mean, even if they were going to go BKBs first on the Weaver and the Storm, I don't know if they would have had enough gold to finish him off. There was only one Oblivion staff out on the Storm. They probably would have been close to the BKBs, but they didn't do an effective job of minimizing their losses before BKBs could become a reality and then start to turn things around a little bit. So, wow, eHug still has something to prove, but I guess this won't be their game to prove it, huh?
Apparently not. But hey, man, I always have faith in my eHug buddies. I know Coddle Guy loves his eHug boys, so
yeah,
they're fun to watch, man, and I love having them around. And they are, in fact, nice people. I've talked to Ryu in particular is a nice dude. Talked to him in lobbies and chats.
Yeah, certainly. I wish them the best. I like their manners, and I'm a little ashamed to admit it, but I like Jacobilly. He's a little bit of the mega troll on Twitch, but I think a good guy at heart. So we'll see. eHug, their tough road continues. But Chris, I'm glad you were able to hop on. I'm sorry it was only a quick game. Lowers your FaceTime here on BTS, but always a pleasure, my friend. Glad you were able to hop in and save me from solo casting my final game of the day. Where can people find you on social media, my friend?
It's pretty easy. You can find me at HippieCasting on Twitter. If you want to follow what I'm doing, wherever I'm casting, hit me up there. And hey, man, thank you for bringing me on. I always love to get a chance to cast with you. I do remember, some time ago, some guy who I can't think of was casting this Dota radio thing. I was like, oh, that sounds cool. I want to work with that guy.
Yeah,
that guy.
Who was that?
He sounds like a cool guy.
That crazy bastard. It was me, for those of you that don't understand what we're talking about. So, Chris, as always, I'm sure there'll be more opportunities to bring you on here, but that's it for today. We're done. That is the end of our North American coverage. There will be Starladder China tonight. The playoffs continue. LD will be taking helm on the cast, and he'll be with either Merlini or Gods. Maybe the schedule isn't set in stone quite yet, but that will be the next Starladder broadcast. Until then, guys, we'll see you later. Take care.